In this video, we're going to take a look at gradients and fills. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and might as well stick with the spiral book that we've already been working on. So I've got the spiral book here. We'll do the template and we'll get the template here. What we want to do is we want to work with layer 1. So I'm going to move down here to layer 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to work with what we call gradient fills. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to our toolbar. And if you remember earlier in the video, we changed the paint bucket to the gradient tool and back. We're going to change this to the gradient tool again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the very basic. And I'm going to start in the lower right hand corner. And I'm going to click and drag up to the upper left hand corner. And what that's going to do is it's going to create my gradient. Now, to understand what the gradient is doing is it's working from a set of colors. And if you look at the toolbar up here, it's going to tell you that this is working from the foreground to the background color. Now, there's some other options that we have there as well. Usually the foreground to background is the most popular that you work with. So if you look at your colors, here's your foreground and background color. So it's shifted that from that black to the white. But let's go ahead and shift those colors. So we'll go ahead and click on the black here, and we can choose another color. And I'm going to choose, let's get something in the blue range here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that blue range and get something kind of dark. Click on OK. And then what I want to do is I want to change the foreground color. Or I'm sorry, the background color. We just did our foreground, so we'll change our background color. Now I could choose something completely different. It would try and transition between those. But what we want to do is we want to get something that is fairly similar. So I should already have the eyedropper tool. I'm going to click on the foreground color. It'll take me right back to what we had just selected. Now within that same family, I'll choose something in the lighter range and click on OK. And if I still have the gradient tool selected, again, starting in the lower left-hand corner, moving up to the upper right-hand corner, now we'll see that blue transition. Now, I could do that from bottom to top. So I can come here down here to the bottom, move up to the top, and I would see that. I could move from the other corner. I could go from the top down, and I would see that color change as well. Now, another little trick with the gradient tool, if you want to give a little bit more drastic look to it, you don't have to drag it the whole way. So if I start with my lower right hand corner again and drag up, but if I stop halfway through the cover and let go, you'll notice that you only get the bluer color here, and the whole upper half, or this upper corner up here, is the background color. So it's going to vary based on how far you drag that gradient. So you can adjust it accordingly. So if I start in the bottom and just move up here above the word cover, you'll notice that you only get the darker color that far. If you want it more solid on the bottom as well, then what you can do is move up from the point where you want that gradient to go and then move it there as well. So now you get darker on the bottom. So you can really play with that gradient. Now the other thing that you can do with the gradient as well, if you come over here and choose the gradient or the marquee tool, click on the marquee and select the specific area. So if I go ahead and choose this block kind of here around the word cover, then I can work within just this area. So what I'm going to do on this area here is I'm going to come here and I'm going to adjust my blue, and I'm going to kind of change the family of the blue that we're working on, and I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to change that background color, and I'm going to get in the same family and move lighter on that and say OK, and I'm going to come back to the gradient tool, and foreground to background works for me. Now we also have some different methods of doing it. Now, what we were doing before was a linear gradient. What I'm going to choose now is a radial gradient. So I'll go ahead and choose the radial, and I'll start here on cover, and I'm going to move out to the edge of the marquee area, and now what that's going to do is it's going to give me a radial glow off of there. If I drag it out further, you'll see that that's going to adjust accordingly. So you can kind of play with that until you get a look that you are happy with, that you're trying to go for. If you look at the different types of items as well, you could move it through transparencies. You could just do the black and white, some neutral densities, some stripes. So you really have some different options there. Again, the most common is just moving from foreground to background. You can reverse your direction, all kinds of different features that you can use just to get this looking the way that you want it to. And that's how you can do the various gradients. And if I click out away from here, you'll see that I have the two different looks, but I still have the gradient running through it. And now if you have done something that you don't like, you get looking at this cover and decide, yeah, I thought that'd be a good idea, but it didn't work out. You can always come up here to your edit, and you can undo your last steps, and you can work back through those. But let me show you a quicker way to do this. If you come up here to your window and come down here to history, it's going to show you the history of everything that you did, and you can walk back through these steps. And if you decide that you want to go all the way back to where you did the rectangle marquee, it'll take you back to that step. And if I move back to the previous gradient. So very quickly I can undo a bunch of the items that I did and get back to that step. I don't have to keep going through those undo if I use that history. So you have the ability to undo all of your steps as well. Let's go ahead and see how our cover looks. I'm going to go ahead and choose the go and hit play. And it'll run through all of our steps. And now I will see that I have my cover there already set up, and I'll see my gradient on there as well.